In January 2026, Apple released its Creative Studio, Apple Creator Studio, and I have loved it. I have mentioned in another video that I've got to change from using the Adobe software because it's very expensive and Adobe do not recognize user accessibility.
Data Australasia, guided by lived experience, led by you.
Hi, I'm Elise Lonsdale. Welcome back and thanks for joining me. I've been struggling with Adobe for quite some time because whilst they can make accessible PDF documents, there's nothing there for people who actually want to do the creativity. So there's they have these panels of functionality, and you've got to make sure the right panel is on the screen. And by hovering the mouse over things, it doesn't talk because they've actually used graphics to render those commands on the screen. Even many of the dialog boxes that you see pop up in Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere, and even Photoshop are not accessible, even if you were tabbing around with the keyboard or using the mouse. So basically, I've had to move away from it, because with the Apple products, you can either hover the mouse over an element and have it spoken. You can swipe to an element if you're using the appropriate software, such as Final Cut Pro and Pixelmator, which is part of the Creative Suite, on the iPad, which I'll eventually get to teach people how to do once I've finished learning it. And you can cursor and tab to things with the keyboard. So it makes it a lot more accessible, and it's a fraction of the price that Adobe's charging. And in my mind, just as productive, more productive. It took me less than a day to bring, say, for example, Apple Final Cut Pro up to a standard that has taken me years to get to with Adobe Premiere. So there you go. And it's not a very high standard. There are still lots to learn on it. So as a vision-impaired content creator, I think there's a lot to be said for the way the software handles. One of the things I like about the Apple software, it uses that inspector model. So when something's got focus, like part of your timeline, an overlay in your timeline that sits over the top of another element, once that's focused, the inspector will show you the commands and the things that you can do only to that element. So, gone are the days of hoping for the best the right panel appears. Even though the workspace in Adobe is quite flexible, it's, in my mind, probably too flexible. So software matters. So I'm changing, and many of the last few videos have actually now been done in Final Cut Pro. Some of them have been done in Final Cut Pro on the iPad. So Creative Suite has the traditional Keynote, numbers and pages built into it. Now, those apps have been traditionally free, but if you got them as part of Creative Suite, you'll get more functionality. You'll get more options when it comes to templates and options with it. You can still opt to have those as free apps. So they've got what they call premium content built in. Similarly, if you've purchased Final Cut Pro and Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro being the audio editor and sound producing software, you will get more premium content. And there are other things in there like the Apple compressor app and the Motion app, and there's another one there too, which aren't included in the iPad versions, but are available on the Mac. So I'm looking forward to seeing more vision-impaired people come to these apps, and therefore more creativity out there on the World Wide Web and YouTube. That's just my thoughts. Software makes all the difference, and that applies to whether you're using, spreadsheeting or Office software. I must admit, I think still using JAWS, Windows, and Word is still the best option for writing. But if you are on the Mac, there are other productivity tools which work well with VoiceOver. Yes, Keynote does work, but I've found other tools which I will talk about in other videos. So it's really horses for courses and what suits the individual user or creator at the time. I'm Elise Lonsdale. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you real soon in another video.
For fast, efficient access technology training and support, call Elise Lonsdale from Australia 0448 966 533. That's 0448 966 533. or from New Zealand on 027 315 2858. That's 027 315 2858. Data Australasia. Guided by lived experience, led by you.